Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode with Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. I am excited because we have now went over 500 subscribers to this channel. Absolutely blows me away. Thank you very much to all of you who have subscribed, including our most recent subscriber, Marlena Davis. So thanks so much for joining, and special thanks to Wade from Wade's Ventures for promoting this channel through the interview that I did with him. So go check that out down below in the description section if you want to get a more personal side of me that you don't often get from just watching this channel alone. So while I'm excited and I'm pumped up about that, I've got the Best Dad in the Galaxy shirt on that Primetime Junior purchased for me this weekend for Father's Day. I'm excited about all that type of stuff. Had a great day in sales. Just put together 8 packages ready to go out tomorrow. I'm not too excited about the United States Supreme Court decision that came out today, South Dakota versus Wayfair. If you want the big background about how this all got started with this particular case that went to the Supreme Court, I'm going to put a link to a video that I did not too long ago, and I'm going to put it at the end of this video, which gives you all that background. So I'm not going to go over all that today, but what I'm going to do is just go over some of the basics with you right now, just a little refresher, and then I'm going to go into what I think that this means going forwards for online resellers, especially people who are using places like Poshmark, eBay, Etsy, that sort of thing. So let's just start with the basics in terms of just real simple example. Like right now, I am located in the state of New York. And if you live in the state of New York, like Kevin Fairbanks, if you're watching this and you purchase something from me, I have to charge you sales tax, okay? Now, New York state sales tax varies per county, but it's averages somewhere about 8%. So I'm going to charge you that, and I am going to then send that sales tax to the state of New York every quarter, along with all the other sales tax that I collected. And that's how you do it. Now, if you are new to eBay and you have not registered with your state's tax agency, you definitely should do that, as long as you're obviously not in one of the few states that does not collect sales tax. But assuming you're in one of the majority that does collect state sales tax, you do need to be registered with your state. Does not matter how much or how little you are selling online, as long as you are purchasing things to resell online, you need to be charging sales tax for that, or at least collecting sales tax. In other words, you don't have to literally put it in your listings that you're charging the person sales tax, but you are responsible for pulling the sales tax out of that charge and sending it off to the state. So for the buyer, they might just see that it's $30, whatever your item is, and free shipping, and they don't see any tax. But if it's going to the state where you reside, where you have a physical location, where your goods are physically located, then you have to, by yourself, pull that money out and then send it out to the state. That's how it works. Now, if you purchase something from me and you live in a different state, let's say you're not in New York, you're in California, you're in Florida, you're in Tennessee, something like that, you purchase from me, that's fine. I don't have to charge any sales tax. And the reason for that is because my goods are not physically located in your state. They're only located in New York. Now, if I had a big warehouse of merchandise that was in your state, then I would have to charge sales tax. So that applies to people who, for example, do Amazon FBA technically, and your stuff is located in a warehouse that Amazon has somewhere that they're storing it and then they go ship it out. You technically have to pay taxes for any sales that are made in that state. So keep that in mind as well. Now, that's how everything was set up before today's ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court. What today's ruling effectively says by the U.S. Supreme Court is that states now have the ability, they have the right to collect sales tax from sales that are made from states that you do not have a physical location in. So technically, what could happen now is that states could try to compel you to collect sales tax. For example, let's just use the example that I just gave before, where someone purchases from me and they're in Florida, or they are in California. If California and Florida want to put laws and rules into effect that would make it such that I have to keep track of the sales that I'm making in their state, then I would have to send them the sales tax every quarter. Usually that's how it works, is quarterly. At least that's how it works in New York. I know that's how it works in Florida as well, and lots of other states have that system set up. Now, the problem with this is that would be an absolute logistical nightmare to really do this if you are an individual reseller, because just let's take the state of New York, for example, or whatever state you live in. But for me, it's New York. I had to go online. I had to fill out a bunch of forms. I had to register with the state. That's time consuming to do that. Then I have to get the information sent over to me. I have to get my certificate that I have to hang on the wall down here, Primetime Treasure headquarters. Then every quarter I have to log on to their website. I have to track, by the way, every time I make a sale in the state of New York, I keep track of that in a separate database. So I know that once the end of the quarter hits, I have everything all set there in terms of, I know exactly how much I need to send to the state. I fill out some forms online, and I have my business checking account is linked up to the state's system, and they just automatically take the money out of there. So, that's how that works just for one state. Could you imagine having to do that as an individual reseller, just doing your Etsy shop or your Poshmark closet or your eBay store, having to do that for over 40 states that you're making sales to? Because over the course of the year, if you've got an active business going, chances are you're going to be sending packages off to every state or the majority of states. So I would say right now, in terms of, let's talk about how this is going to impact people going forwards. Right now, what I would tell you is not to freak out about it and not to get overly worried about it, but to have concern. We really ultimately right now do not know what the actual long-term implications of this are going to be. There is going to be a lot of lobbying by the part of eBay and Etsy and other similar companies. I imagine Poshmark will get in the mix on that, and lobbying Congress to try to come to, for example, a small business exemption for this. So the way that eBay is trying to pitch this right now, and so is Etsy in their first public responses to this, is that they're saying that the way they view it, now this is the way they're spinning it, this is not literally what the court said, but they're trying to spin it that this is only something that's going to affect big businesses. Now, why are they saying that? They're saying that because South Dakota's law, and South Dakota is the state that put this into effect in terms of this lawsuit that they sent over to the U.S. Supreme Court versus Wayfair, is that they had a rule that if you made $100,000 or more worth of sales to someone or to people within the state of South Dakota, that you were responsible for sending them the sales tax. So some people are interpreting this, like eBay is, that this only applies to companies or businesses that are making over $100,000 or $100,000 or more a year in sales to a certain state. But the thing about that that's not actually correct is that, and why it's spin right now, is because that's how South Dakota's laws are set up. But South Dakota could, one, change their law at any time. They could change that 100,000 to 10,000 if they want to. Also, every state could come up with their own rule, their own law. So for example, if you look at the state of Washington, they have a rule that it's their law is $10,000 in online market sales is what would be susceptible to paying sales tax in that state. So every state could come up with different rules. One state could say, you know what, like for example, Florida could just go ahead and say, you know what, any sales, you need to send us the taxes for that. So every state could come up with something different, which is why I would say we can't just generalize and say that because South Dakota had a law that has a law that says it's $100,000, that's the number. We can't automatically assume that that's going to apply to every state. But what I can tell you for sure is that eBay and Etsy and again other similar companies are going to try to lobby Congress, meet with Congress, and I know they're going to do this as well, is try to push for a grassroots effort amongst resellers like us to reach out to your local congressman when the time is right. Does not have to be right now, but when the time is right, when there's something on the table in terms of a tax law that can carve out a small business exemption so that resellers like us do not have to collect that sales tax. In other words, this would be just something for much bigger companies like Walmart or who are selling online, or Amazon's already doing this, and I think Walmart is already to an extent. But let's say other big giant companies that are making definitely millions of dollars a year in sales, or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in sales. So that's one possibility in terms of how this all shakes out, is that it ultimately may not actually affect us. Now, we don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, that might not happen. I don't think what's going to happen, let's take it to the other extreme. I don't think that what's going to happen ultimately is that all individual resellers like us are going to have to monitor and register and collect the sales tax for every single state where we make a sale and send in the money every quarter. The reason for why I say that is because I think that's clear and should be clear ultimately to everybody, that is overly burdensome to small businesses. And it is important to protect small businesses, and I don't want to get much into politics and political discussions on this channel or in my Facebook group, but coming up with laws that help big business is something that politicians do like to try to do. It helps save the mom and pop stores, and it helps save the average person like you and I, who are trying to make some extra money or trying to make a living selling online. So I don't think that that's ultimately going to happen. Other possibilities that can happen is that eBay or Etsy actually come up with their own system where they actually take the tax out themselves, and they actually send the payments off to the states on your behalf. That I think is a possibility that they might do that. That would be kind of a middle of the road solution that I would be perfectly fine with. You'd still be responsible for collecting and sending to your own state under that system, but still that would take care of all the other states. Now, another possibility, and this was mentioned by Casey Paris, Rockstar Flipper. He's covered this topic a lot, and you should definitely go check him out. He discussed it tonight in his live show, and he also has a separate video on it. So I always tell people, go check out his channel. It's awesome. He came up with and I don't know if he came up with it, but he did mention that another possibility is that third parties could get involved, like third party businesses could come in play here and offer basically a system that you would purchase that would keep track of all your sales. You'd enter your data into it, and then they would take that information and disperse it out themselves, kind of like almost like a TurboTax program or something like that. It wouldn't literally be like exactly like TurboTax, but it would be some kind of tax collection software, and it would send out to all the states. Now that would probably be fairly pricey, like Casey mentioned. It probably cost like a couple $100 or so. So that would be, I'd say the second least desirable option. I think, hopefully what will happen is a small business exemption. So ultimately what we're hoping for is that there will be a small business exemption that's carved out in the tax law through Congress. So this doesn't apply to us whatsoever unless you cross a really high threshold. And if we ever got there, I mean, I guess that would be a nice problem to have, or that eBay just collects this for us and we don't have to deal with it. We don't have to mess around with it. So I am going to keep an eye on this, and I am going to continuously update you on this issue as important developments arise. If you have questions about this at all, please do not hesitate to contact me. Drop a message down below in the comment section. You could reach out to me on this channel, or feel free to stop by my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link to that is down below. We're over 600 members there. Great, active, vibrant group of resellers. It's a positive place. If you have not been in there before, come join. It's free to join as long as your profile looks great. Everything looks fine with that. You're going to be in about 2 seconds after you submit the join request. So consider that. Also, make sure if you have not subscribed yet, it's great that we're at 500, but I want to get to 1,000. I want to get up to 1,000. I want to double that real fast. So let's get up there. If you like the information you're getting from this channel, if you like all the tip videos, the haul videos, and I will say this right now, that if we get to 1,000, I am really thinking about doing a live show. So let's get there sooner rather than later. A goal of mine would be to hit that by the end of the year. I think that's reasonable. This channel started at the very, very end of December, so we're right about June and we're at 500. So let's hit that goal of 1,000 by the end of the calendar year, and hopefully maybe even cross that. So I will see everybody at the next video, probably some hauls and stuff like that going on. So I'll see you there, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you at the next video. See you later, everybody.